My husband gave his mom my wedding ring after she lost hers, then said I was being selfish for wanting it back. So I did this with his brother and woke up to 18 missed calls. Throwaway. Because my husband knows my main Reddit account, and honestly, this whole situation is just so embarrassing and hurtful. I can't even deal with having it connected to me. So I, female, 31, have been married to Luke, male, 34, for 5 years, together for 8 total. I work as a pediatric nurse at the local hospital, and he's a financial analyst at some firm downtown. Our marriage has been mostly good, I guess, but there's always been this one ongoing issue. His mother, Catherine, female, 63. And oh my freaking God, I think I've finally reached my breaking point. Some background about the ring. It's super special to me. Like, not just because it's my wedding ring, but because the diamonds in it are from my grandmother's ring, who basically raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 8. Yeah, fun childhood lol. She was literally my everything growing up, and she passed away just a year before my wedding, which really hurt me. I still get choked up thinking about it, honestly. Having her diamonds in my ring was the only way I felt like she could still be part of my wedding day, you know? I don't wear it during my hospital shifts because of hygiene protocols and stuff, so I keep it in this special wooden jewelry box my grandfather made before he died too. I swear I'm not usually this morbid, just giving context. Luke's dad died from a heart attack about 3 years ago, and ever since then, his mom has been a lot. I mean, I tried to be understanding at first because obviously losing your husband of 40 plus years is traumatic, but it's been 3 freaking years, and she's somehow gotten more dependent on Luke. Not less. She calls him multiple times every day for everything. And I mean everything. One time, and I'm still mad when I think about it, to be honest, she called him at 11 p.m. because she heard a noise outside, and he immediately got dressed and drove 30 minutes to her house, leaving me alone with the flu. I was throwing up every hour and could barely stand up, and he just left me alone all night while he comforted his perfectly fine mother, who probably heard a raccoon or whatever. Like, who does that to their sick wife? I had a fever of 102 and everything, but that's just one example of many, many, many similar situations. Anyway, yesterday I came home from probably the worst shift I've had in months. We had this 4-year-old come in with a severe asthma attack, and for a while we weren't sure if, well, it was just really scary, but he's stable now, thankfully. I was completely exhausted and just wanted a hot shower and to watch some TV after basically watching a child almost die in front of me. Sorry, that's dark, but that's pediatric nursing sometimes. So I went to put my engagement ring in my jewelry box. I wear that one to work since it's just a simple band, and noticed my wedding ring wasn't there. At first, I thought I was just exhausted and overlooking it, but after searching the entire bedroom, I started to panic. When Luke got home, I asked if he'd seen it, and this man, just casually mentions that he temporarily gave it to his mother. I swear my brain just short-circuited for a minute. You see, I couldn't even process what he was saying. When I asked what he meant, he told me his mom lost her wedding ring while gardening last weekend and was really upset, so he thought she could borrow mine for a while. When I asked why he didn't ask me first, he said I was at work all day and his mom was really upset, so he just thought he'd help her out. I literally started shaking and told him that ring has my grandmother's diamonds in it. The grandmother who raised me after my parents died, who died herself before our wedding. How could he just give it away without even texting me? He got defensive and said he didn't give it away permanently and that his mom needs it more than me right now because she lost the ring his dad gave her. I told him to call her and get it back immediately, but he refused, saying it would be cruel to take it back so soon. I was absolutely furious at this point and told him he had no right to give away my property, and he had the audacity to tell me I was being selfish about his mother's feelings. I can't even. He suggested I just wear my engagement ring for a while until they could figure something out for his mother. Like what? Figure what out exactly? Get her another ring. Why is that suddenly my responsibility? And I know I might sound heartless here, but losing a ring while gardening versus having a ring with your dead grandmother's diamonds who raised you, how are those even comparable? The fight just got worse from there, with him making me feel like I was being unreasonable for wanting my own wedding ring back. Eventually, he just left to stay at his mother's house, of course, because apparently I need to cool off. I'm the one who needs to cool off. Are you kidding me? This isn't even the first time Luke has put his mom first. Last year, we had reservations at this restaurant we'd been trying to get into for months for our anniversary. His mom was feeling lonely that day and invited herself along, and Luke just let her. So instead of a romantic anniversary dinner, I got to listen to my mother-in-law talk about her bunions for 2 hours. I wish I was making this up, but this actually happened. I've texted Luke many times asking when he's bringing my ring back, but all I get are vague messages about working it out soon and me needing to be more understanding. Understanding of what exactly? That he gave away the most meaningful piece of jewelry I own without even asking me. The only person in his family who gets it is his younger brother Zachary, male, 32. He and Catherine have a strained relationship because he saw through her behavior years ago. Luke always defends her, though, no matter what she does. I texted Zach last night about what happened, and he just replied, "Classic mom," which doesn't help, but at least validates I'm not crazy. I'm normally not the type to overreact to things. Ask anyone who knows me, I'm usually pretty chill. But I just don't know what to do anymore. Am I overreacting? Should I just let his mother keep my wedding ring with my dead grandmother's diamonds because she's sad about losing hers? Or is this the final straw? Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thank you all for confirming I'm not crazy. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, Luke definitely knows the significance of the ring and the diamonds. I've talked about my grandmother and what she meant to me countless times. He even held my hand at her funeral before we were engaged. 2. No, Catherine probably doesn't know the significance, as far as I know. Luke might not have told her, but that doesn't excuse his actions. Though knowing how she is, it might not have mattered anyway. Number 3, a lot of people are suggesting I just go to Catherine's house and demand the ring back. I'm seriously considering it, but worried it'll just cause more drama and Luke will paint me as the villain. But maybe that's what I need to do at this point. 4, for those asking about the value, the monetary value isn't even the point. But yes, the diamonds are pretty substantial. My grandmother had a beautiful vintage ring from the 1940s. Edit 2. To the people saying I should call the police, I get where you're coming from, but I'm not ready to take that step. This is still my husband, and I want to try to resolve this without involving law enforcement if possible. But trust me, I've thought about it. Edit 3. This all happened yesterday, so it's still very fresh. Luke stayed at his mom's last night, and I haven't seen him in person since our fight. Just got a text from him saying we need to talk about this rationally, which is making my blood boil all over again because giving away my ring wasn't rational. Now, for the first update. Wow, I did not expect to get so many comments on my last post. Thanks to everyone who offered support and advice. Honestly, it helped me feel less crazy about this whole thing. So after reading all your comments, I decided to try the direct approach. A lot of you suggested I should just call Catherine myself instead of waiting for Luke to handle it, which he clearly wasn't going to do. I thought that was pretty reasonable. Just explain the sentimental value of the ring calmly, and surely she'd understand, right? Ha. Yeah, no. I called her yesterday morning when I knew Luke would be at work. I tried really hard to be nice about it, I swear. I started by asking how she was doing, and then explained that while I understood she was upset about losing her ring, mine had my grandmother's diamonds, and it meant the world to me. I even offered to help her look for her original ring or go ring shopping with her for a replacement. But her response was terrible. She immediately started crying, like the fake dramatic kind, where you can tell someone's putting it on, and said she needed the comfort more because I still have my husband while she's all alone in the world. She basically implied that because her husband is dead and mine isn't, her emotional needs trump mine. She kept saying, I don't understand what it's like to be widowed, and Luke would want her to have this comfort. This isn't even the first time she's pulled this kind of manipulation. She once ruined our housewarming party by suddenly feeling faint right when people were complimenting our kitchen renovation. Everyone had to stop what they were doing to attend to her, and she needed to lie on our couch for the rest of the night while everyone fussed over her. And magically, she felt well enough to eat 3 plates of food and dominate the conversation once all attention was on her. Anyway, back to the ring situation. I tried to be super understanding and suggested we could go shopping that day to find her a new ring. I even offered to help pay for it with money from my photography side business I do on weekends sometimes. But Catherine said I was missing the point. She said she needed a ring that was blessed by marriage to feel connected to her late husband, which, okay, I get the sentiment, but that doesn't mean my ring. Get a different ring with actual sentimental value to your marriage. My ring has literally nothing to do with her husband. And then something clicked. She kept referring to losing her ring while gardening, but I suddenly remembered that at a family dinner, like 3 weeks ago, she was complaining about how she had to stop gardening because of the arthritis in her hands. She made a whole thing about how she couldn't even open jars anymore, which was why Luke had to come over weekly to help around the house. So how exactly was she gardening without arthritis pain? The stories weren't adding up. I decided to reach out to Zachary, Luke's brother, to see if he had any insights. We're not super close, but we've always gotten along, and he's the only one who seems to see through Catherine's BS. My conversation with Zachary was eye-opening. He told me Catherine has been asking various family members for loans over the past few months, like significant amounts of money. Zachary said she asked him for $3,000 last month for emergency home repairs, but when he drove by her house later, there was no evidence of any work being done. She's asked Luke's aunt for money for medical bills, even though she has really good insurance from her late husband's pension. I told Zachary I was worried about the ring story and mentioned how it didn't match up with her arthritis complaints. He confirmed he's been concerned about his mom's spending since his dad died and that she's been asking everyone for money. When I told him about Luke giving away my wedding ring with my grandmother's diamonds, he was shocked and offered to help me figure things out. I was honestly hesitant about involving Zachary too much because I didn't want to cause more family drama. But at the same time, I felt so relieved to have someone finally validate what I've been seeing. So after talking to Zachary, I decided to look at our joint account statements more carefully. Luke handles most of our finances, which I know is problematic, but he's literally a financial analyst, so it made sense. And I usually just glance at the statements. This time, I actually went through line by line. And guys, there were several unexplained withdrawals and purchases that I definitely didn't make. When I texted Luke about them, he got super defensive and said they were gifts for his mother or helping his mother with bills. I confronted Luke about all of it when he finally came home. The arthritis gardening inconsistency, the pattern of Catherine asking family for money, the withdrawals from our account. I suggested that maybe Catherine had financial problems and had pawned or sold her original ring and was now using my ring as a replacement. Luke was furious. Like, I've never seen him this angry. He called me paranoid and said I was attacking his grieving mother, and how dare I make up conspiracy theories about someone who just lost her life partner. He packed a bag and has been staying at Catherine's house full-time now. He's barely communicating, except to say, I need to apologize for insulting his mother before we can move forward. This whole thing reminds me of when Catherine accidentally spilled red wine on my wedding dress during the final fitting. Luke defended her then too, saying it was just an accident and I was overreacting. The seamstress had to work overnight to fix it, and it still had a faint stain visible in some of our photos. I'm just so tired. I feel completely unheard and disrespected. My husband took my most precious possession, gave it to his manipulative mother, and is now making me feel crazy about the whole thing. Zachary and I have come up with a plan. Luke has this really valuable sports memorabilia collection, signed baseballs, jerseys, etc., worth several $1,000s. Tomorrow, while he's at work, Zachary is going to help me carefully pack it up and move it to his house for safekeeping. Then we're going to send a detailed email to the extended family with wedding photos showing my ring, explanation of its sentimental value, evidence of Catherine's financial questions, and a full accounting of her boundary-crossing behavior over the years. Zachary says he'll add his own examples too. Luke's family actually really likes me, except Catherine, obviously, and I think once they see the whole picture, they might be able to help Luke see what's happening. I know this is an extreme step, and I'm honestly terrified about what it might do to my marriage, but I just don't know what else to do. I've tried being reasonable. I've tried being understanding. Nothing has worked. I've temporarily moved into Zachary's guest room since Luke is at Catherine's anyway. We're planning to send the email tomorrow. I'm so anxious I can barely eat. I know some people will probably think I'm being too harsh by involving Luke's memorabilia. I'm not normally the type to do something like this. I hate confrontation usually, but it feels like the only way to get through to him. That collection includes a baseball signed by his favorite player that he got at the only game his dad ever took him to. I know how much it means to him, which is kind of the point. Now maybe he'll understand how I feel about my grandmother's diamonds. And before anyone suggests calling the police for theft, I know that's technically an option, but I don't want to escalate to that level yet. This is still my marriage we're talking about. I guess I'll update again after we send the email tomorrow. I'm so nervous, I feel like I might throw up. Edit. Thank you for all the supportive comments. To those asking if I'm sure Catherine knows the significance of the ring, yes, she definitely knows. I've talked about my grandmother at every family gathering and how special she was to me. Catherine was even at our wedding when the officiant specifically mentioned the diamonds being from my grandmother who raised me. She knows and doesn't care. Some people are asking if I've tried marriage counseling before going this far with this plan. Yes, I've suggested it multiple times over the years whenever Catherine issues came up. Luke always dismisses it, saying, "We don't need that," or "It's just family stuff. Every family has issues." A few people have pointed out that taking Luke's memorabilia could legally be considered theft, just like him taking my ring. I understand the concern, but Zachary and I aren't planning to keep it permanently, just to make a point about how it feels to have something precious taken without permission. We're being extremely careful with it and documenting everything. To the person who suggested Catherine might have gambling debts, that actually makes a lot of sense. There's a casino about 40 minutes from her house, and she's mentioned day trips with friends. A lot lately, but is weirdly vague about what they do or who these friends are. I never considered that possibility before. Now for the second update. First, thanks to everyone who commented on my last post. Reading your messages really helped me feel less crazy about this whole situation. It's been a complete nightmare, but at least I don't feel like I'm overreacting anymore. Okay, so after my last post, Zachary and I went ahead with our plan. I was literally shaking the entire time because this is so not something I would normally do. I hate confrontation and usually just let things go, but I was just done with being walked all over. While Luke was at work, I went to our house and carefully packed up his sports memorabilia collection. I was super careful with everything. These items really mean a lot to him. There was this one moment where I almost backed out. I was holding this baseball his dad got him at the only baseball game they ever went to together when Luke was 12. Luke has told the story of that day like a million times, and I know how much it means to him. I actually sat on our bed just staring at it for like 10 minutes, wondering if I was doing the right thing. But then I looked at my empty ring finger and thought about my grandmother and how much she meant to me, and I just kept going. And yeah, I know some people will say 2 wrongs don't make a right, but honestly, what else was I supposed to do at this point? I tried being reasonable. I tried talking to both of them. Nothing worked. Anyway, I took everything to Zachary's place, and he helped me document it all, taking pictures, etc., so we could prove nothing was damaged. Then we spent like 3 hours working on this email to send to the family. We included wedding photos showing my ring, explained about my grandmother's diamonds and what they meant to me, the whole story about Catherine supposedly losing her ring while gardening, despite her arthritis that made gardening impossible, the unexplained withdrawals from our joint account, and basically a whole history of Catherine's boundary-crossing behavior over the years. God, there was so much to include once we started writing it all down. Like that time she showed up unannounced on our honeymoon because she was in the area, or when she insisted on coming to my OBGYN appointment when we were just starting to talk about having kids because she needed to know her future grandchild would be healthy. Zachary added his own examples too. Apparently she's been doing this kind of thing his whole life. He told me she once returned a car he bought because she didn't like the color and thought it was unsafe. He was 27 at the time. These are the kinds of stories Luke always dismissed as Zachary exaggerating, but now I know better. After we sent the email, I was so tired, I just turned off my phone and crashed in Zachary's guest room. I couldn't handle any more drama that day. When I woke up the next morning and turned my phone back on, holy crap, 18 missed calls. 18. 9 from Luke. getting increasingly angry, frantic. 4 from Catherine, first angry, then suddenly all sweet and concerned, and 5 from different family members. The voicemails were wild. Luke's went from asking what I did, to saying I humiliated his mother, to demanding his collection back, to finally asking me to call him back. Catherine left messages that started with her basically calling me ungrateful and delusional, then switched to this fake concerned voice, saying she was worried about my mental health. But the messages from the other family members were mostly supportive. Luke's cousin Melissa called to say she'd suspected something was off with Catherine for a while. His uncle Jeff sounded genuinely shocked and said he'd be calling Catherine directly. And Luke's aunt Monica, Catherine's sister, left a message saying she'd had similar concerns and would help get to the bottom of things. Around noon, I was making coffee in Zachary's kitchen when we heard someone pounding on the front door. It was Luke, with Catherine right behind him. Zachary opened the door, but stood in the doorway blocking them from just barging in. Luke was furious, demanding to see me and get his collection back. Catherine somehow pushed past Zachary and started pointing at me, calling me a vindictive liar and saying I was trying to turn the family against her. I'd never seen her drop the sweet mother-in-law act so completely before. I told her to give me back my wedding ring with my grandmother's diamonds right now. Luke kept saying Zachary and I were ganging up on his poor mother, and how could we be so cruel? Then Zachary asked Catherine directly what happened to her original wedding ring. She stuck to her gardening story, but right then, Monica, Luke's aunt, showed up. Apparently, Zachary had texted her when Luke and Catherine arrived. Monica is Catherine's younger sister and doesn't put up with her BS at all. Monica confronted Catherine about asking to borrow $2,500 last month for emergency medical bills that Monica had later discovered never existed. Catherine started doing her fake crying thing, saying everyone was attacking her when she was just a lonely widow. Luke was still trying to defend her, but then Monica showed him screenshots of texts where Catherine had asked her for money multiple times with different excuses. Luke's face changed completely. I think that was the first moment he started to realize something wasn't adding up. Catherine suddenly went from crying to screaming that we were all against her, and how dare we treat her this way after everything she'd sacrificed as a mother. Finally, after like 20 minutes of this, Catherine admitted she'd pawned her wedding ring months ago to pay off some credit card debt that Luke's dad didn't know about before he died. She said she was too embarrassed to tell Luke the truth, so she made up the gardening story. Luke looked completely shocked. It was like his whole world was falling apart. Catherine finally took my ring off her finger and handed it back to me. I noticed right away there was a new scratch on the band. I'm still upset about that, to be honest, but at least I had it back. I put it on immediately and felt so relieved. After Catherine's confession, things shifted dramatically. Luke was clearly in shock about his mom's lies, but still mad at me for taking his memorabilia and telling the whole family. I mean, seriously, that's what he was focused on. I told him I would only consider moving back home under certain conditions. 1, we have to start couples counseling to address the boundary issues with his mother. 2, Catherine gets no access to our finances. Ever 3. Both Luke and Catherine need to formally acknowledge they violated my trust and apologize. Luke reluctantly agreed but kept saying he didn't understand why I went to such extremes instead of handling it privately like I've been trying to do for years. I swear he still doesn't fully get it. I did return his collection once we had this agreement in place. Zachary helped me bring everything back, and we confirmed nothing was damaged. The extended family is now requiring Catherine to go to financial counseling. Apparently, her debt situation is way worse than anyone realized. Monica is helping her sort through everything, and they've discovered she owes like tens of thousands of dollars to various places. So that mystery is solved, I guess. I'm back home now, but things are weird. Luke and I had our first counseling session yesterday, and it was super awkward. We're both wearing our rings again, but there's this distance between us that wasn't there before. I keep looking at him and wondering how he could have given away something so precious to me without even asking. And I think he's still angry about the email and the memorabilia thing, even though he's trying not to show it. Ironically, this whole mess has brought Zachary and me closer. He's been an amazing ally through all this, and I'm really grateful to have at least one person in Luke's family who understands how messed up this whole situation is. I'm still not sure what's going to happen with my marriage. The counselor said rebuilding trust takes time, but honestly, I don't know if things will ever be the same. How do you get over someone taking your dead grandmother's diamonds and giving them to someone else without asking? I'll update again if anything significant happens, but for now, I'm just trying to take it one day at a time. Thanks again for all your support and advice. Even though the way this all played out was more dramatic than I would have preferred, I'm glad I finally stood up for myself. Edit. To those asking if Catherine apologized, sort of. She sent this rambling text that was like, "I'm sorry you were upset, but I was just so lonely," which is basically a non-apology. Luke says I should accept it, but the counselor actually said it wasn't a real apology, and we'll be addressing that in our next session.